All right, welcome to another episode of Duck It. Today with us, we have Arnaud Collery, a guy that I've known for about, I think, 4 years. We met once during kind of a session, a program that we did when I was back at Karim. Anyways, really glad to see you again. Welcome to the show, Arnaud.
Thanks, Christian.
So how would you kind of introduce yourself in one line? I find it kind of super challenging to do that when I look at your profile. If I want to give testament to who you are and what you've done.
I'm reading right now a book by James Pressfield called The War on Art. And I recommend any entrepreneur in the world to read it. Any entrepreneur, any artist. And he says something which more and more makes sense to me, which do not identify too much with what you do, what you are. Just talk about what you do right now. And what I'm doing now for the last few years anyway, is just, it's to go into teams, into leadership and help them move the curve a little bit. Just move the positive movement, move the, whatever is movable, if that makes sense. So some people call me a leadership coach, a chief happiness officer. Just people hire me for a small period of time. That's what I like. I like intensity, 1, 2, 3 days. And I try to create some energy within the team.
You know, it's super interesting that you say that. I've been in startups my entire career, from Canada to the US to Saudi Arabia to the UAE, et cetera, as you know. And the only correlation I've made across the organizations that were successful was that everyone within that organization was on the same page in terms of why they were there, in terms of the passion, in terms of the purpose of what it was that they were building. There was kind of a harmony in the collective belief of what we were doing. And it was like the fuel of the organization. And it's so funny, like you can actually point them out, those organizations. And I think Karim was a fantastic example that I think you're aware of. Are you seeing that typically in an organization? Is that something that we've been able to prove to some extent?
So I see that in leading a successful organization, whether they're small or big. And right now, I mean, of course, as you know, there's a huge vacuum now, because the biggest thing right now in leadership, right, since COVID, is how to navigate the unknown, how to keep the passion and the purpose of any team right now working on it, unless they're doing superbly, and like, let's say 10% of company right now are doing superbly. The rest, they are at risk of losing everyone's. Everyone I'm talking, right, is just, how do I keep my passion? How do I find my purpose now? Because some people, are getting fired. Some people are in burnout. Some people are working from home and they don't see the value of what they used to bring physically. So everyone seems at loss. So it's even more useful what I do now than it used to be. But what you say, yeah, it's just, you need to find that collective and consciousness thing that sticks for everyone, that, that one thing. And if you can sum up in one phrase, right, in 2 phrases, I remember Karim, this is since this is where we met. My first leadership meeting, I think it was in 2015, I think. And I remember with the 25 of you I had at the time, right, we found out during a storytelling sharing event that all of you were there, the top management, because you all had shared some sort of existential crisis at some point in life.
Yeah.
Just like Abdullah Madusser and what's his name?
Magnus.
The 3 of you had this thing, right? And Magnus was actually the first one of the biggest existential crisis moment in his life. But all of you, that's why you were here. You unconsciously, this is where you stick together. And what I found is every organization that works, that's what, and when there is nothing in common,
it doesn't
you
stick.
need to create from scratch, and it's a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so funny, like, everyone kind of agrees that, culture is great when organizations are growing and everyone's, business is good and revenue is, through the roof. But then, culture is really bad or or passion is really bad when everything's on a kind of slump. And I think, like you said, COVID's brought about, a crazy amount of challenges personally and professionally for people in terms of working at home, in terms of challenges in the economy and user behavior, et cetera. All these organizations today that are finding it difficult to survive are extremely bootstrapped for cash, focused on functions, on minimizing effort, maximizing output, but focusing on happiness and passion is not something that I hear people talking about. Right? It's not something that seems to be top priority these days. How do we get leaders and organizations to realize that that's the magic sauce? That if you get that right, everything else kind of works out.
You just need to do a test. You need to just show them just a few hours, 4 or 5 times a month. Take a guy. Right now, I'm actually creating I'm a pioneer in something else besides Chief Happiness Officer, which is the coach in residence. I'm working with, I move as you might know, right? I was 10 years in New York and I just moved back recently in France, just January 2020 actually. And this company I joined in France called La Fondation du Vin. It's the biggest wine foundation around the world. And, very conservative, they're in tourism. And they were thinking of hiring me, doing more team building and leadership events. And then COVID happened and they said, we're going to hire you and we're going to make sure it works, we're going to have you to interview all the workers union. And I had to negotiate with the worker union. They're like, we strapped for cash and you're hiring a coach right now. We're in the tourist industry. What is that? And we spent 4 hours talking, 4 hours with the worker union and they get it. I'm like, I'm just going to make things more smooth, more fluid. All of you are going to go to a crazy emotional bump. I'm just going to be there. And what I do is 5 hours a week, I'm there for session. I call them power session of only 30 minutes. And for 30 minutes, I listen to one person of the time. And that person, whether it's the top manager, there's no really intern in this company, but at the lower picking order. And that person just share with me anything of concern to him, to her, whether it's business, whether it's personal. And what I'm doing is just active listening. That's it. That's all I'm doing. Sometimes I offer guidance. You have to see a good coach as an acupuncture, right? As someone who just press, it's like a button. It's like, maybe you need to have a different perspective. So best thing is, to answer your question, is have people try. Have people really good at active listening, who love people and who are also, business centric. I mean, I graduated in finance and I'm an entrepreneur myself. So I get the realm of business. So as long as it's someone who knows the world of business and who's good at active listening, you're going to get a power of a happiness, and you're going to see the correlation between happiness and performance.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think in my experience, that's absolutely. I mean, if you can actually find that recipe, I think success is achievable. I think happiness is achievable, and as a result, success is achievable. I always wonder because these days we do at Duck Life. We also I forgot to tell you, we also have some active investing in early stage startups, and a lot of the time we're meeting a lot of entrepreneurs, startuppers, et cetera, that are building new businesses. And it's funny, I can't help myself but measure the entrepreneur and say, can this person, this guy, this girl, can they, motivate a team? Can they inspire passion? Do they have the characteristics or the personality to do that? And very often I find that they don't, right? So they might be brilliant, technically super apt, but they don't convince me as powerful leaders, right? So can they steer the ship, Right. So what do you do in those circumstances? I'm sure you've been organizations and seen that. I'm sure that exists.
Yeah. I mean, the simple answer, the fastest answer I give you, they need to have someone else, right? If they don't understand the power of inspiring and motivating, and it's just they don't have it in them, Of course, they can grow. They can grow in becoming a manager and inspirational speaker, but they don't feel it right in the beginning. They need to be paired off with someone who can, and they can still be some sort of co-CEO or CEO where they're gonna hire someone who's got this love for inspiring, for guiding someone, right? I mean, I really see the difference between half of my friends are artists and half of them are entrepreneurs. And artists is there to just, you know, is there to born something in the world, to create. But it isn't always there to inspire others, just with his product, with his creation. And the entrepreneur is born to inspire. That's his first thing, right? Someone described an entrepreneur recently to me as is the head of a gas station, which means that's his first role as an entrepreneur, founder, CEO. When people need gas, emotional gas, energy gas, they come to him or to her. And I love this way. This is, you're the head of a gas station and you feel out gas. I love it, right? So, and it's one of the good things. Say, imagine, how do you feel with this metaphor? How do you feel with this message? And some people don't have in them. They just have this product they want to launch in the world, but you have to tell them what this is not what the company gonna be. Company gonna be is 80% inspiring others.
It's so interesting to hear you say that. I completely agree. I mean, the main role of a leader is to inspire and to lead and to motivate and all that. What happens to the leader when they're always the one that are filling up everybody else's tank? That has a crazy toll. I mean, I've seen many entrepreneurs, and I won't name any, but I've seen them completely be destroyed because they've been doing that for 5-6 years consecutively.
Right. First of all, and it was important for me to understand that 5-6 years ago, I was in a coaching session with another coach, and what's his name? He taught me that everyone born an entrepreneur actually unconsciously is an addict of the emotional journey. Yeah. So he wants it. He doesn't even know. And if you tell him you're going to go depressed and you're going to go burn out, because 99% go through it, right? If not 100%. So first of all, it's in our DNA. We actually lack it. We need it. We need those bumps to go up and go down. And that's the correlation, one of the correlation I see with artist world, right? Because I keep going back and forth between the two of them. And an artist go through that, and he needs that to create, and a CEO, a founder needs that to see that his product is really good, is reading the market, or like yourself, right? You need to make an impact in the Middle East. So he knows, he see a reason, he see a purpose. So first of all, they are addicted to it. And most of them, you're like, what? Yeah, you actually want it. Second thing is they need a way to, of course, revigorate themselves. And for this, they need to go whatever makes them feel light, full of joy again, right? The best example is I can see is you have to see yourself as you in a car and you have this gas tank, right? And you have to press the brake whenever it goes on the red. And you know you have, I don't know, 50 kilometers to go, 80 kilometers. You know, when you're on the red survival mode, you could, as soon as you see the red button, you need to do something. All of us will be different. Some of them will go get drunk with their friends, whatever. I don't judge. It's the way to re-energize.
Yeah, sure.
Some of them will be nature. Some of them will be more playing with their kids. Some of them, I'm very intense guy. My wife loves yoga. I do yoga from time to time, but I need an intense sport. So I need to go more boxing, or I need to do more hot yoga, right? Like the yoga 45 degrees. Yeah. That's where I lose my steam and I can go back. I need those, right? Same as everyone. I do go down. So you need to find that thing that gives you passion, lightness, and you can just clear your head, basically. And we need, of course, some sort of an entrepreneur club. In New York, I was in the startup community. I was part of Startup Leadership Program. I don't know if you know them. They have a chapter in many places in the world. I don't know. I don't think they're in Dubai yet.
I'm not familiar with them. No, I don't think they're here. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe, I'm not sure. They have 20 chapters. And we would meet I think it would mean once a week. Yeah, once a week for 6 months. And we would, would be 20 entrepreneurs and really share our stories. Yeah, it'll be like a Alcoholic Anonymous for entrepreneur, right? But you need that. You need your friend to say, because you need to show inspiration to your guys. But sometime you need to be transparent and tell them, listen, it's going to be difficult. I'm not sure the way, but most of the time you need to show that you have energy, right? Yeah. Just like military officer, you need to show this is where we're going, even if he doesn't know where he's going. But right. But at some point, he said, I'm not sure where we're going, but I have a vision. It's going to go great. The basics of resilience, right? Captain Scott Dell talked a lot about it. Was a guy who was tortured for 7 years in Vietnam, and he said, for resilience, you must not mistake two different things. One is you need that positive vision. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. It's going to be much better the other side. Yet you don't put a deadline. And two, even though you're very optimistic towards the future, build whatever it is to build internally to face the shit, to face the monster, to face the dragon daily, day after day after day. So whatever it is to face it, and then you're very optimistic, a dreamer towards them, which is very difficult for most people. Most people are either a dreamer or they're just in the day-to-day grinding, and it's what you need, the two of them. You need the grinding, and you need the dream, the purpose, the vision, the statement. You need both.
Yeah, absolutely. I have an informal group of entrepreneurs that I speak to on a regular basis. I think I completely agree with that process. One thing that I found has worked with all of us, in terms of all the conversations we've had, we're all very good visualizers, right? So we visualize what it is we want, what our objective is, what we think will make us happy, right? So, a new business idea, a home, a vacation, a moment that I'd like to spend with somebody, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're very visual, and we can see it. We can almost touch it, and then it's easier to run after. Now, on that point, we're dreamers, like you said, right? We're constantly dreaming. And that's what's our fuel, right? Kind of, to some extent. And you run. But at some point, I keep telling myself I need to stop dreaming or slow down on my dreams. There's just endless dreams, and there's only a certain amount of hours a day. So like you said, I'm extremely intense as well. I start my morning, quite intense. I ride for about 26 kilometers every morning. Then I'll go crazy, and then I'll work. I'll be at my desk at 7:15, and I'm endlessly productivity. Productivity is what gets me happy. I love being productive, but there's a physical limitation to that. So we dream, we structure, we produce, we're happy. But how do you define, at the end of the day, and it's a huge existential question, but how do you define a state of happiness to somebody like that, who's constantly just running? Is the running the happiness?
So two things. So many people ask me this question, and of course it's very subjective and everyone has their definition. For me, happiness is two things. One is accepting, finding, and going after those moments of joy or movement, vitality.
Yeah.
Many people say, how do I get out of a depression, burnout? It's not finding happiness. It's too conceptual. It's too intellectual. No, find vitality, movement. Where is the movement? First thing. But as you say, you can't just be in the movement. You need pause, and you need reflection. And if you do not reflect at some point, if you're just running, you're going to get a cancer, ulcer, or something will happen to you. I've seen that all over the world, all the time. So you need to accept when the going and get stuff, the suffering. It's very a Buddhist approach, right?
Yeah.
And when the suffering approach, find a reason. Okay, I have a sadness. I'm okay. I'm embracing. I'm not gonna cry for days, but I'm embracing. It's a moment which is down. Don't pick up the phone. I don't necessarily need to do something now. What does it mean for my life? What is the voice telling me about myself right now? So I do believe in two things. the joy, the pursuit of joy, the doing of joy, the fun, and then the acceptance of suffering, right? Some people could call the whole thing, maybe equanimity, and there's a lot of such verbalizing. The only problem is then again too conceptual, and then you get contempt for that, and then you don't move. For me, it's always the mixture of this movement and then pause, movement and pause. But we need, if we're an entrepreneur or an artist, again, you need to be in the movement, right? So,
absolutely, and there's this weird thing that keeps happening in these conversations that I've had several times, especially with one other entrepreneur, is that it's almost like we have there's a dark side to that thirst for movement, that we only really feel that we've moved enough until we've collapsed.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like this masochist kind of view of the world, that like you only feel that you've achieved and you've given your maximum if you've reached your point of exhaustion.
Right.
And that is absolutely cancer, like you said. That's how you get to those states, and it's incredible. And on that point, there's, I don't know how the quote goes, but there's a famous quote that says, money doesn't buy you happiness, but it buys you freedom. And freedom is the route to some sort of happiness, right? It's not happiness, but every entrepreneur I know will quote you this. He'll say, I'm not running, after the money, but the money will give me peace of mind. It will give me the vacations. It'll give me time with my family. But in essence, even when entrepreneurs have those freedoms, they still have that disease. They still need to produce. So it's like an endless cycle. It's the strangest thing.
I'm going to also bring back something else I've read in this amazing book, James Pressfield, The War on Art, just because now it's in my mind. It's what I'm reading right now. And he said, and I agree with him, so do some introspection, work out basically the shit in your mind, why you have those traumas, because we all have. Yet, at some point, don't do too much introspection, because actually, and it's the same again for artists, is exactly what annoys you, what you don't like, the big part of your shadow. This is what makes you running. This is why you're doing what you do, because you have this big monster in your head or in your heart, or that you just don't like. But this is the reason why you do what you do, right? We say the bigger the light, the bigger the shadow. I don't know yet if it needs to be, but what is sure is the more people want to do something, there was a lack sometime at some point in their life, or there is a lack right now in their life. If it's too much, they need to do something about. But it's also they need to realize at some point, and many entrepreneurs or artists at some point face themselves in the mirror and understand, okay, this is why I do what I do, because I need to, and even very spiritual people. I've talked to like a bunch of monks. We did an event, as you might know, right? Stand Up for Passion. We did it in 10 countries around the world. We would take 7 people, 7 minutes to talk about their transformation in life. We have a YouTube channel on this, actually. Yeah. And one of my guy, Rasana Das, who used to be a top Goldman Sachs trader in New York, and then he became a monk. And now he's a leadership coach as well. And he says, and when he was on his spiritual journey, I say, as a monk, do you never have problem? You're always peaceful, you're fine. He said, no, the only difference with everyone else is I know exactly where my shadow is. Exactly, I know what just bothers me. It's never going to really truly go away. Many religion talks about this, actually, in different way. Some religion talk about this, right? This thing that bothers you, that actually you need to fuel you. And if it would totally go away one day, you would not have your fuel. So at some point, you need to come to peace with it. It is, and yeah.
It's, I always have this conflict, and I think you're probably the only person I could ask this question to. There is this reality that what you might believe, and this is my perspective, what you might believe is the route or the kind of direction to take for your happiness is dictated on what you believe to be or what your perceived perception of happiness is. So, hey, I want to be productive. I want to produce. That's what makes me happy. I want to, do all these things. My visions are this. But isn't there also some truth in saying that whatever it is that you perceive to make you happy is really a question of what your experiences has been thus far, and hence, you know, I only think this is what makes me happy based on my habits and what's relevant or what's common to me, right? So if I want to do a complete career change and I realize, oh shit, I have cancer, and shit, this lifestyle, these dreams are not good for me, then changing and shifting completely, like you've done a few times in your career, you've changed careers a little bit. I mean, it kind of leads me to feel that, okay, whatever I think makes me happy today doesn't necessarily need to be true in terms of what I think is going to make me happy tomorrow or the day after, etc. Right? So it's just being able to manage that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I mean, so many things to say on that topic. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've reinvented myself a few times, and as you know, or might not know, I don't know, but I was mostly a inspirational event producer and a leadership coach the last 7 years, and now actually I'm going to tech as well, right? I'm going to education platform on consciousness, on helping people to think about all the subject, right,
Yeah.
for the business world, right? And why I'm saying that, it's once again my own happiness will shift. Before it was just I needed to see people in front of me changing right away. I needed to feel that was my fuel. And now I won't necessarily see that every day, since I have to run a startup. I keep a small coaching activity 1 day a week. The rest, 5-6 days a week, I'm going to work on my platform. So now I have to make more effort on visualization, right? On impacting others. Second thing is, yes, it's whatever you makes you happy now is the result of a habit. There was this cancer researcher, I forgot his name, in Australia, and he works with cancer patients when they are in a terminal stage. And he says something very interesting happened. Many of them, because the guy is a very spiritual guy as well. He's doctor and spiritual. And what happened is they have a cancer, they should die in 1-2 years. All of a sudden, there's a shift. I say, you need to shift consciousness. You need to shift what is essential to you. So some of them go back to running, boxing, playing violin, more time with family. In many cases, say, for him, let's say, in 50% of the case, in his patient, the cancer goes away, remission. Just because all of a sudden, I'll do what I want. I'm going to do the essential. I have 1 year to live. And I'm like, oh my God, they waste their time before, but whatever, at least different. And they were lucky to meet this man who talk about life, and we know, right? So and then of course, happiness was what they thought until now. So yes, and one thing we also advise to people when they're in depression and burnout is just to see elsewhere. What's going on, to go into field, into technology, into whatever that you do not know. It's not that you're going to become an engineer if you, I don't know, spend more time with engineer tomorrow. Like I would never be an engineer, right? Yet I work well with engineer, but I don't have the brain for, I know that. Yeah. Yet whenever I spend time with them, my consciousness shift. I'm in a different world. I'm not in a world of emotions and consciousness. Like I've been very comfortable with that world last 7 years. But something shifts, something makes me better every time I go outside again of my comfort zone, right? What you know. And it's one of the things to jump thing. And this is why reinvention, I mean, I love reinvention. I've changed 12 times career. And every time it comes to me, you think I should reinvent myself? I say, yes, of course, go for it. Do you have enough money to pay for your roof and your food the next year? Yes, go for it.
Yeah.
There's no reason, right, not to say no. Okay, maybe if you have 3 kids, I'm not sure. Even if you have 1 kid, you'll find a way to bring food in the table. Go reinvent, right? The company I'm working for now in Bordeaux, the accountant came to me. I really want to start a flower shop. It's been my dream. The accountant. And I said, go for it. Really? I said, go for it. Of course, most flower shop guys, they don't have your management experience, your sense of numbers, and your wife likes the artistry of it. There's absolutely, you're 35 years old only, absolutely why you would not do your dream if it's your dream. Okay. And he went for it, right? And I've seen that a lot since COVID, and I love it. Whatever that is, whatever that brings you joy, that bring you, I'm God, we live one life, whether you believe in karma or now, fill out this life, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like every time I've left a job, and that's a conversation we'll have another day, but every time I've left a job and started a new opportunity or a new challenge, it's almost to have a mini transformation, a change in habit. And I completely agree with that. I've constantly changed, constantly changed. And I think that's helped me keep my sanity to some extent. It's so funny, as I was listening to you speak, you're applying your comments and your opinions on people, but they're so easily applicable to organizations, right?
Yes.
Like I've been a part of a couple companies, and even brought into one company to lead a transformation, and and it's almost the correlation of what you said is almost word for word what was needed in that organization. The organization needed to change. The organization needed to pivot, almost reinvent itself. And it's amazing, you have these organizations that are supposed to transform, but what they mean by transform is back to profitability and growth and revenue. They don't actually mean transform. They don't want to change anything in how they, process or how they're structured or who's leading the company or anything. So what do you say to organizations today, especially, during COVID? Everybody, every organization I know today is going through some sort of struggle. And they're thinking of transforming their businesses. But every time I hear about people supposedly in transformation, all they've really done is the superficial stuff. What is kind of your perspective on what you just said, but to organizations?
No, you the first thing is I do when I enter an organization, even if it's just a few days consulting gig, is just let's talk on your value. Are the real value right now with your employee, with the workforce now? Is it what's on the wall? Whatever beautiful values might be there. Is it what people feel day to day? If not, let's just move it. Interview every employee, spend 10 minutes. If you don't want to do the job or your manager don't want to do, hire an intern, interview the 1,000 or the 100 employee and see how would they describe the company? I love to, how do you describe your place? And is there an alignment between what people want and what it is now? Let's start by this, right? And if it's not, okay, let's make it to what people need it now. And most people, they need something right now, of course, around flexibility, around courage, around how to navigate the unknown. So there's a lot of similar values that going on now in the world, whether you're talking to a French and American, I'm sure Dubai need company as well. So yes, to apply those same thing, which is the same thing as a person, right? Look at your life. What have you done? What was the thread in your life? Why are you doing what you do now? What were the pivot in your life? Same thing in a company. Why did you become who you are as a culture? Again, corporate culture, right? And separate strategy and culture. There was Peter Drucker, the famous consultant management guy in America, who said strategies is important, but any time of the day, culture will eat strategy, right? And now everyone says, well, what's my strategy? We don't know, right? So first, build your culture, build a team of solid people, right? I know there's a company I'm working through, and I know there's going to be some change in the company, and I'll say, once you get your new group of people, let's work and create a new culture, right? Right? Think from scratch, just as a personal reinvention. Think from scratch. It's a blank page. What do you want to do? What your guys want to do? Your woman want to do in the company? Everything's possible. New business model might emerge. New idea might emerge. And also reinvention, of course, will bring some creativity. And now everyone needs to be creativity. But we know why they're so against culture change, right? Because most people, let's be honest, most people in charge of company are over 45 years old. And then, they've had this success without much change, most of them. And now they're like, what am I doing? It's not what I know. This is not what I'm comfortable for. So of course they're resisting, right? Yeah, and you need to go over your resistance, just like when you're bending. I'm not very good in physics, but I know, like, when I try to bend something, right? The more you're going to the end, the more there is resistance. Same thing into our organization, and we need to keep in mind an organization is like Frédéric Laloux said. Frédéric Laloux is a famous Belgian consultant. Sold books, millions of people have read his book. And he says to think of an organization as a living organism, right? It's a living organism. It's something that's free. We don't know where it's going. So again, we go back to the movement. Follow the flow. Follow the movement. Where does he want to go? And just be there with that change.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been talking for about I don't know, half an hour, 35 minutes, and I knew this is where the conversation would end, and I would ask you this question, and I don't know if you have an answer, but if there are so many studies, and if all the leaders in the world who have been successful understand the power of culture and values, why haven't organizations structurally integrated that thinking into their companies?
Right. It's a good point. Once again, one, I'm not sure. Two, I really think, again, the guy who are in power, even they get it, they understand, they don't want to lose their position. You just have to keep that in mind. The people at you and I were still young, and you're much younger than me, but the guy at the very, very top, they just don't want to lose, and they know sometimes there's something to change. They know they don't want to lose their position.
No, but like, I've been in tech probably the last 10 years or so, and I've seen structures evolve, right? So now we have, chief product officers and chief experience officers, and, so we've had C-suites have changed so much, structures have changed so much, and there isn't a single organization that I've been a part of where, all the leaders, all the board, all the investors, all agree on the power of culture, of values, of passion, everyone. But structurally, they don't reflect that, right? Like, at all, right? We have chief people officers, but they're just glorified HR people, but like we don't have organizations that have adopted an understanding and a feeding and development of culture. Like, we don't, like, nobody truly owns that space. And you're lucky if you have a CEO or a COO who understands it and believes in it. But if you don't, there's no body to protect that. If that's our fuel, why haven't companies invested in fuel?
Right.
Like that's the disconnect that I'm not understanding. Everyone will agree with it. Is it a question of maturity? Is it a question of human psychology being always brushed to the side? Is it?
I think really, once again, I mean, it's just to preserve their existence, which they know they're going to go down the hole. They know it's not good for the company, for the strategy, for their.
It's self-preservation.
Yet I think it's really self-preservation. The other day, there was this CEO was very surprised. I don't know if it was a French CEO or an American CEO, and he said, we need to make some cut to keep the company going. And he said, but so I guess the job are more or less equivalent in the company. Say, but we need to, I think it was like 10% of cut. Which are you okay with it? And most people said okay. But when it comes to vote, what happened? Basically, everyone was conceptually for the cutting but nobody wanted to cut their job, right? And absolutely, basically, there was a rebellion when they say such and such and such person. So conceptually, they know. But then when it comes to self-preservation, and I'm seeing that with another company I'm working with now, they say, I understand they need to make some cut, but there's no way. I'm not going to get fired. I'm not going to leave. There's no way. I understand. They need to make change, but there's no way for me. And it's just, but you'll find something else. It's just the world is movement. It's just there's so many companies out there. You'll find something if you believe in yourself. but just people are just so afraid. And sometimes it doesn't even matter of age. I'm thinking of a 30 years old woman. She's got everything going on for her. She doesn't have a family to support. She's superb resume, and she's scared death of the culture change in a company. Say, what, what if I'm not still here with the way the new things? And so what? You'll find something. But it just, like you and I, we know we can move around and do something. But we have this ability. We believe for some reason we build this trust in ourselves, this self-confidence. Most people just don't have. I really think it's self-preservation.
Yeah. No, I guess so, but it's counterintuitive, right? It's like, I guess it's human.
Yeah, it's just human. I guess it's, I guess it's survival for some of them, even though I don't think it's survival, because I think we have the ability to reinvent. And I love whenever I reinvent and transform myself, right? I love the fact right now I'm starting a tech firm. I'm raising money. I'm talking about branding. I know nothing about branding. I mean, I know about people's mission, but branding is a different thing, right? So I'm learning about branding. We talk, about new software, about the education field. Once again, it's something very different. I'm reinventing things, and I'm finding new resistance within myself, and I'm like, oh my God, I still have to work out on this. And I love it, right? We need to see ourselves as this. We need to see ourselves as the trajectory of life, just as a company, right? I may be here around for the next 100 years. That's why Chinese, right? Sometimes, not every time, of course, but in their strategy, they're much better than us, the big Chinese strategy, or Japanese, because they see this is what we're going to do for the next 100 years. I mean, no French, I think American company does that because it's the tenure of the CEO, right? But Chinese and Japanese, they really feel for the next 100 years, we should do this product. And that's why they're much better for some of them, of course. I don't want to make a generalization, but especially in the tech software industry, I love the way they think long term. And I think it's a Western problem as well, right? In Asia, they have less. It's more really what do we need as a group, right? I mean, I remember I spent a year in China and I was doing this training management for 2 weeks, European trainer and Chinese trainer. So we understood ourselves before spending a year together. And I remember we were 200. And after a few days, we had sort of the town hall to share our experience. And this Chinese guy just got really mad. And he's like, what is it, this thing with those white people? And he was telling, you only try to be a manager and show the way, when just accept what's going on, accept the flow. And it's okay if you don't need to be the smartest guy in the room or smartest woman, just accept your place right now, right? And even myself at the time, it was 11 years ago, I didn't get it. I remember I was part of a business case study and the smartest guy of the group. And I'm like, you're so smart. Why it's not you leading the group? He said, it's not my place. I'm really smart. Yeah, I understand. I can analyze complex thinking, but I don't think I have what it takes to be a manager to lead people. I said, oh my God. And he said, but the guy is going to make mistake, the manager right now of this case. He said, yeah, but I'll be there. And if he's a true manager, he knows how to make decision and he knows how to backtrack and to make news. He's a decision maker. I'm not a decision maker. I understand what to do, but I can't lead. And he was like, 28 years old, something. I was like, oh my God, I had never heard such a thing. If you think you're the smartest guy in Europe and America, I don't know so much about the Middle East, but you want to be the top dog, right? I look a lot at also Asia for culture in some places.
It's super interesting. On that point, from your experience, are some regions happier than others?
So it's a very interesting. They all have a different way of KPI, if you want, of happiness, metrics of happiness, right? So I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East now, right? I've done work with Kareem, but also with Glow Work in Saudi Arabia, with Riyadh Bank recently. It's a bunch of different organizations in Jordania, all over the Middle East. And I've worked a lot in South America last few years. For instance, when you look at the Middle East, I mean, family is so superbly important, and you've got to be, you know, as long as you respect and you're close to your family, things will be fine, right? In the end, it seems. And you know, Latin America, you need to have really your good time out with your friends and family. You need your good time. I mean, I've done like, I don't know, 25 sessions in Colombia, Venezuela, Mexico, Aruba, last few years. And Aruba, I was working for the government. And at 5 p.m., we had done with the workshop, and there was a pool in the house they had rented. And everyone take off their clothes and jump in the pool. And, you know, they have their swimsuit on, but it's like, oh my God, government people, they would never do that in America. And there's a DJ who come, and all of a sudden champagne in the pool. And I'm like, my God, those people know how to live. And that was the same thing with Colombia. I get there for a workshop. Everyone was in the sea with champagne. And I was like, oh my God, I love it, right? I just came up from a jet lag. It's 11 a.m. Oh my God, those know how to party, right? The French people, they want their dinners, right? They want their champagne. They want their access to culture. The America, they want the milestone. America, you know, I want my house and I want my car and I want someone tell me I'm the best employee. They want the milestones, right?
Yeah.
And in Asia, they really favor, for instance, harmony. I mean, they really favor getting along with other people, finding your place, finding your purpose, right? So it seems every region. So it seems as long as you align with what your region proves important, and as long as you align with what you think is important, you're the happiest guy in the world, right? For instance, I spend a lot of time as well in North Europe, which usually are the best at happiness at work, right?
Yeah.
Holland and Denmark and Norway and Sweden. And those guys, even though the happiness at work is the highest, and globally, they are the happiest people, right? So there's a happiness index, right, every year. And usually they're on the top, right?
Yeah.
Top 10 country is always the same. And then there's always Costa Rica as well, La Pura Vida for other reason. But when you really look at the numbers, suicide rate is quite big in Norway, Sweden, strange enough. Why? And I really, understood why. I mean, I really ponder why. And it seems, I've talked to a lot of psychologists and researchers and people on the field, it seems because the happiness level is so high that you just a little bit under, you see everyone else so much happier, then you get depressed.
You're out of the cluster, yeah.
When what you have, you'll be the happiest guy in the Middle East or in France or in America. So it's all subjective, what you see around, there is the social disparity for instance, in the Maldives, social disparity is very big, right? Very, very poor, very, very rich, right? There's some country, but you go to some country in Latin America, Aruba, for instance, it's a very small country, but you don't really see the very rich people. It seems, and you don't really see the poor people. There is some very, very small rich people, and there's a very tiny portion of poor. Everyone seems average, and their happiness level is super high because of this, right? There's no the comparison, the judgment of I'm not enough, the guy next door has more. So it's a long answer to your question, but it seems, overall, I would still say North European country, and a country like Costa Rica, a little bit happier than us.
But your answer is, try to be in harmony with your society as well as in harmony with what pleases you.
No, that's not my answer. I say you seem to be happier when you align with yourself in what the people around you think. But I'm not saying this is what you have to do. I do believe 10-20% of us, we were not born in the right country. That's just the way it is. We were genes, we were born French or American, or somewhere in the Middle East or in Japan, China, but we don't align, and it's just not bad. It's not good. It's the way it is. So you have to find your way out, right? And this is the goal of life. The goal of life is to grow, right? To find yourself. And so I say, yes, you're happier if you, but so I don't say society is good. I don't say what society around you value is what matters. No.
Yeah.
If you align with what matters, of course you're happier, right? Like my let's say my mom is very French and she value everything French. She's born to be French, right? And this is why I spent 20 years outside of France. I'm back now. My wife is Japanese American. We'll see how long we stay in France. I don't agree with everything going on. I think I'm okay right now for a few years.
And it's organic. It changes over time too, right? So you might be happy in a certain society for a certain amount of time, but eventually your value system or what's important to you might evolve too.
Yeah. And right. It's and I don't want to talk about politics, but just to show you how consciousness shift, right? Before I left France 20 years ago, I was young and your political idea are not formed yet, but I was on the conservative side, right? For many things, for economics terms, right? Not in terms of migration, for instance, but in terms of economic terms, I was conservative. After spending 16 years in US, I'm a Democrat, right? I feel like, this is, you can't run the way the conservative run the country. And I don't say it's good or bad for me, for my own thing. So I totally shift my consciousness being in a different country, seeing different things. Who knows if I had never left France, maybe and I see some of my friends, very successful guys in business, who never left France. 80% of them, I can't have a conversation anymore. I can work with them, we can do business, but do I want to, we're just two different worlds. It's just, they have never changed really. It's stayed there.
I don't know, we've been talking for almost an hour. I just want to ask you one last question. And I think it's super relevant specifically to our audience. And it's not, I'm not trying to make things difficult, but if you could say something to an entrepreneur right now whose world got flipped upside down in March, and is finding it very difficult to manage the economy, the circumstances, his teams, everything, and is also having trouble finding his happiness or her happiness, what would you say to them? If you could just give them a couple lines, what would you say?
We say there is two things important in the world, right? There is what's important, what's urgent. Do what's important first, which means important is your long-term happiness based on what you feel now. Again, might change in 5-10 years. So preserve yourself first. Preserve yourself. So do what matters most to you. If it's family, sports, is making a lot of money and you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling and money is important to you, I'm not going to tell you, keep going your company. Maybe go back to a bank. I don't care. I'm not here to help entrepreneurship. I love entrepreneur and I work mostly with entrepreneur. But my thing at the end of the day is do what matters to you. So if money is so important to you and that's your number one priority, go back working consulting on the banks. And then maybe you go back an entrepreneur. If it's in your part of your trajectory, if you really want to make an impact in the world, if you want to help people, there's nothing better than being an entrepreneur, nothing. Yeah. But if your priority is money, maybe get out now. If your priority is your family, just maybe cut your way of living and, don't go to a restaurant, just spend your time with your family and cut your company as small as possible. Maybe you were 10 employees, maybe you're going to be 2 or 3 employees and you're just going to survive next 2-3 years. If it's your goal to maintain your company, but family first, for instance. Be first, for most people, the goal is what matters. So if it's to keep the company and if it's to survive, do whatever you have to do. If it's to sell another product, if it's to hire someone else, if it's to fire someone, if your goal, what is it? Is it to survive? Then you'll find a way. You'll find a way, right? surviving. I mean, I'm saying that with my own, the own company we started. We start 6 months ago. You know, I have a great deck, have a great team. We have not raised enough money right now. It's fine. I mean, I could go back being a leadership coach, have enough clients. I could promote myself as a leadership. But no, I need to start this tech company right now in my life trajectory. It's going to take a little bit more time to do the MVP, to raise the money, and which is fine. What is important for me right now? I need to change. I need to change. And it's not the best of time to change. Whatever. That's my priority. Right? So what is your priorities? Is it money? Is it surviving the company? But in the end, again, I'll go back to Scott Dale's work, right? You should watch his YouTube video. He's dead now, but he's an amazing military man, American military man. And he says, again, build that dream. Do whatever it takes to build that funnel, that tunnel vision where everything's going to get better. Don't put a deadline. So it might be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, right? I have deadlines for me. I have one, it's going to take me 120 days. I put 120 days, right? It's fine. And I love direction and goals because at least you focus your effort into something. It might happen, might not, but you're going to learn something. If you stick to, my goal is surviving or getting money or making my family happy, or again, go back to do some self-preservation, emotional work. The best thing is take 2 days off, no phone, no family, go by yourself in the nature if you can. What's the most important thing for me and my firm? Yeah. And then go and try to do that, right? No one guarantee anything. No one guarantee happiness. No one guarantee success, money. But it's your work. If you're an entrepreneur, seize at your work. It's your work. I have to make my company work, whatever it means. It's your work, right? It's not just a dream. It's what you have to do day in, day out. So do the work you can. Work on yourself. Work on what you have to do. Maybe it's too much, no?
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. I was just going to ask you then if number one is do what's important and what matters, what is do what's urgent? What do you mean by urgent as number two?
What's the urgent is it's really what's in front of you, what you think. What I see is in some company that right now they say, okay, what's urgent? We have to sell the product.
Okay, you mean like to-do lists, like tasks versus what's actually important. Okay, cool. Super clear. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me and to be on the show. I really love that conversation. And I hope we get to do this more often, maybe every few months on every season. Thanks a lot, Arnaud. It's been
be a different world, in January, for instance. 6 months.
Yeah, who knows what the world will look like in 6 months. And it doesn't really matter. Whatever it is, we'll say.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Arnaud. I really appreciate it.